Hello beautiful people, welcome back to LittleStitch by Amara. Welcome back to my channel. So I'm going to show you guys how I made this organza dress, the rose in the front. I used 4 yards of organza made for a 2-year-old. I hope you enjoy it. I hope you like it. Thank you for the constant support. Thank you for watching, and do not forget to watch till the end. There are lots and lots of things to be learned. Thank you guys. See you. So welcome to my cutting table. So I'm going to be working with bridal satin, organza. I think that those are just the two materials I'll be using. So now it's an off-shoulder dress. So I just went ahead to remove 2.5. I started my measurement from 2.5 and now used my half length for this dress is 10 inches. 10 inches. Then I marked out the chest line, marked out the armhole, marked out the waistline, and that was it. Then I added 2 inches allowance for both sides and now cut out. Then for the back side I did the same thing. I just left 1 inch allowance for my zipper. Every other thing remains the same. So guys, if this is your first time tuning into the channel, please do not forget to subscribe. Do not forget to like, comment, share. If you're facing any difficulty, any challenge, do not hesitate to drop your question, your comment, whatever. So now I now had to come down again by 1 inch for the front part. Came down by just to give it a little, make it a little lower. So for the the lower bodies, I just had to cut out my downside. I cut out 180-degree flap, as I always do. The baby's waist divide by 3.14. Then whatever I got, I used it to measure around to get the radius of my skirt. Then I now marked out the length. I know this is not a new thing to you. I always do this illustration. Please, if you do not understand my little explanation, you can go over and watch my previous videos where I did a detailed explanation. I did it this fast because I already have so many videos on this. So now the length I worked with here is 21 inches for the bridal. So now I'm going to go ahead and mark out all round. So my lower bodice is ready. I'll go ahead and cut out the lining of this. So for the organza, I'll be cutting out. I used 4 yards of organza for this. I now divided, this materials comes by 60. So I divided it into 2. That is 30. As in length, I divided it into 2. So after dividing it into 2, I used 1 part for the first body. Then for the remaining part, I had to measure out the length I want. This is dependent on how long you want it. So the second length I used 7 inches, but I made 8 because I was going to use 1 inch for joining. Then the first layer I used 15. that is folded into two is 30. Remember, it's on fold. The organzas here I used are on fold. So this one is 7 plus 1 inch allowance 8. Then the other one I used 15. So now, after measuring them out, the next thing to do is just to gather at around the waistline. Gather as much as possible. You can even use 5 yards of organza for this. The fuller the finer. So now, for the rows in front, I went ahead to mark out where I would want my rows to stop. I wanted it to cover the half length. So I went ahead and measured out 7 inches. This 7 inches, I'll be using it to cut out the circle. I'll now So I now went ahead to mark out 3.5 round. So now I just went ahead to mark out the circle where I'll be sewing my ruffles on. I measured, it's supposed to be 3.5, so I'm going to mark out 3.5 all round. Yes, I made it 4 because I'm going to be using half inch for sewing allowance. So I'll just go ahead now and mark out 4 inches all round from my center, then cut it out in two because I'll be using one to turn the other. So I'm just going to turn it, sew around and turn it out. So for the ruffle part, I'll be doing 2.5 inches on fold. So you can cut as long as you want. Wherever it finishes, you continue cutting. You make sure it goes round. You can decide if you want it really full or you just want it to just give it some kind of fullness. Not too much, not too small, not too full, sorry. So but me, I'll be pleating mine. I'll be making tiny pleats all round, but you can decide to just use your hand needle and tack round. Just make it light. So it's all dependent on what you want as an individual. So I'll be cutting out 2.5 inches, be using half inch for sewing, then my main ruffle will be 2 inches all through. So I'm trying to make sure they are all on the same page. So you can decide to make it light like that. So for the sleeve, the straps on the upper bodice, I went ahead to cut out a long piece, not so long. I cut out 8 inches by 2.5 inches, but I'm going to sew it in such a way that I'll be left with 1 inch because it's going to be on fold. By the time you fold it, you sew on one side on the two on the half inch allowance, you will now be left with 1 inch for the strap. So now I went ahead to place it and used my lining to turn over. So I'm just going to sew around and I'm not going to turn it out or do the same thing for the back. Then after turning out with the lining, remember I used same material for my lining and the main bodice. After turning it out, I'll now go ahead and join the front and the back bodies. Then you can give it a good press if you have your iron around. give it a good press. Then after that, you join both front and back bodies. So this is me trying to turn my back bodies with the lining. So like I said, after turning, I'm going to go ahead and join both front and back bodies by the sides. Remember, I left 2 inches allowance for sewing allowance. I'll still sew and trim. Definitely I'm not going to leave it at 2 inches because it will be making the dress look too bulky by the sides. So I'm going to trim off maybe and be left with 1 inch for the seam allowance. So now for the lower part, I'll go ahead and gather the first 2 layers. After gathering them, you see that you gather or you make tiny pleats on your 180-degree flay, half flay. You're going to make tiny pleats or you run your gathers, whichever works for you. Remember, these are all on fold. Your organza should be on fold. That is the beauty of the dress. The organza must be on fold so it can give it some kind of fullness, some kind of fluffiness. You understand? So guys, if this is your first time watching our video or tuning into this channel or coming across this channel, please do not forget to hit the subscribe button, turn on your notification bell in case we have uploads so you can be the first to be notified. It doesn't take so much. It doesn't take 2 seconds of your time to hit the subscribe button, and do not forget, that is if you're watching till this very point, do not forget to like, comment and share. Thank you. So now I'm done sewing. I'm going to go ahead now and join the upper and the lower bodies together. So I made sure I notched the upper and lower part. After notching, I'm going to go ahead now and sew, making sure that they are both the same in length. Hey guys, I hope you haven't forgotten to share these videos with loved ones. Moms that have baby girls, have a sewing machine and do not know how to sew, please do not forget to tell somebody about this channel. All these things we do for love. So in case you're planning to make this and you have a 2-year-old or a 1-year-old, 1 yard of bridal satin is very okay. 4 yards of organza is still very okay, and you're good to go. I'm done joining. You can see our dress is almost ready. It's 90% ready. Left with attaching the zipper. So you can see the inner part as neat as the front, the outer part of the dress. So now go ahead and sew my ruffle, the rose. Then after that I attach the zipper, and that is all. So you can decide to either use the rose in the center of the upper bodice or by the side. I think I prefer attaching the rose to the side. Give it a little some kind of beautiful look. So after sewing round, I went ahead to notch just so it can lay flat since I am not ironing it immediately. So now just go ahead now and mark out where I'll be sewing my roses, my organza, sorry, to form the rows. So I just went ahead to mark out half inch round, depending on how you want it, how full you want it. You can decide not to make it so close or far apart, whichever way works for you. So now I'm going to go ahead and close up that part, then make start sewing round and round and round till I get to the very end. So like I said, you can decide not to make yours pleated. You can decide to just make a very loose gather so it doesn't come out so full. You can decide to just make it loose gathers. Whichever way, just be creative. You can do whichever way works for you, but this is just a guide on how to go about it. So this is exactly what I'll be doing all through till I get to the center. You can see we're getting there, we're progressing little by little. We'll get to the end. So I hope you're enjoying our videos. I hope you're having a good time. I hope you're following. So if you cannot sew till that middle, you see I went up and gave it a little slant. Then I'm going to use my sewing needle to just sew that middle, make sure it is well placed. So after that, I'll go ahead and attach my zipper, and that is the end. Thank you guys for watching. Thank you, and God bless you. You can go ahead now and give it a good press. Then after that, you attach your rows, and that will be all for today. Thank you. Hi. Good.